Have you ever scrolled through the standard Canva frames and were just annoyed because you couldn't find what you were really looking for? That stops today, as I'm going to show you how you can create a picture frame out of an animal shape, a logo, a text, or whatever object you like. I'm going to show you two different methods. One simpler method for which you need a Canva Pro account, and one a bit more complicated method, which is, however, more powerful and also completely free. So just let us jump right into the first method. For that, you want to open a new document. I'm just going to use the Instagram Square post. And here you want to look for the element or the graphic you want to use. For this first method, it is important to have a vector file. If I import this, for example, and then zoom in or make this larger, you can see that it gets pixelated. So it's just basically a picture. We can't use that for the first method that I'm going to show you. You want to use an vector file. You can see here I'm zooming it and enlarging it, and it still has its sharp lines, and you can also see that you can change the color here on the top. That is a sign that you have a vector file. Once we selected a vector file, you want to download it as an SVG file. That's also the step where you have to have the Canva Pro subscription. Once you downloaded it, you want to open it into a design program where you can see different layers. I'm just going to use Affinity as it is completely free. Once you open the file, you can see that here on the right side in the layers panel, there are quite some different layers. However, we just want to use the curve file, so basically the outline of the object that we downloaded. So we can bring it to the top and delete everything else so that we are just left with the outline or the shape of the objects. Then you want to right click on it and scroll down to convert it to a picture frame. Once you converted it to a picture frame, here on the top you have the option to replace the image. You can choose whatever picture you like. I'm just going to use this for the example. And then you have to export this file again as a PDF. You can just choose the simple one for print and click on export. You can rename it, it doesn't really matter. And then you want to upload this file to Canva. You can just do it by drag and drop. Here you can see that it's going to be uploaded in designs and not images. Once you open it, you can see that when you click on the trash button here, you don't just have the option to delete the whole thing, but also just delete the image. And just like that, you have your own custom Canva picture frame that you can use. So here you can just import a picture and it will fill the frame. Now to the second option. For that one, it doesn't really matter what kind of object you have. You can have a graphic or a photo as well. It can be colorful. It doesn't have to be a vector file. I'm just going to use the stock for this example. And then we want to download that again. Here you can download it as a PNG. So that's also the step where we don't need the Canva Pro subscription. When you open that file, you can see that it opened it automatically in the Pixel Studio as it is in PNG file, but we want to use it in the Vector Studio. So we're going to just switch to that one. And now you want to select the picture, click on Vector here on top and click on Image Trace. It opens a window where you have two settings, the edge threshold and the curve fitting tolerance. And you also have the option to split view or mirror view. It's quite useful to see what will happen if you put the thresholds or tolerances on different levels. When you put the edge threshold on 0, it will be closely to the original image. If you put it higher, the colors that are similar will be merged to one curve. So for our example, we don't need the color, so we can just put it on 100%. And the curve fitting tolerance determines how closely the lines follow the original lines of the artwork. You can see when you put it to 0 or close to 0, the lines get followed quite strictly. If you put it to 100, the lines are more smoothed out and the corners are not as sharp. So that depends on your preference. I'm going to put it on 30 for this example. And then you hit apply. You can click on this downward arrow here, and you have a lot of different curves for all the objects. The one square curve here is the background. We want to delete that one. And now we just have the dog left. You want to select all of the elements of the dog and then click on add here on the top. And then you just have the outline of the dog. So now we are basically at the same step as before. We have an outline, a vector file, and we want to again click on convert to picture frame, replace the image. One trick I want to show you as well is if you have an image that looks similar to the filling of the picture frames of Canva, you can just import it as here, and then your picture frame will look similar to the Canva picture frames. Then again, export it as a PDF file and then upload it in Canva again. So just do it like that. Here you can see that we have the background. It looks like a Canva picture frame, and you can also just import an image just right away. Now, one last thing I want to show you is how to create picture frames where you can put in 2 pictures. That makes sense for things like sunglasses, for example, where you want to have one frame for the frame and then one frame for the glasses as well. So again, download this file. I'm just going to use the SVG file as it is a bit quicker, but you could also just do it as I showed you with the second method. Open that with Affinity again. And here you can see that you have a bunch of layers, and you want to find the layers that we need. We need basically this curve here. That is the glasses frame. The rectangle we don't need. And we need this group. However, we also want to delete all these things. It is quite nested, this glasses file. So we basically just want to have the curves of the glasses. Then we delete everything else that we don't need. And we are left with 3 curves. One for this glass, one for this glass, and one for the glasses frame. In my opinion, it makes more sense to have a picture frame containing both of the glasses. So as before with the dog, I'm going to select both of them and merge them to be one curve so that we can insert one picture in both of the glasses simultaneously. And now we want to convert them to picture frames again as before and replace the image. Just going to use this in here and this in here so that you can see a difference. Export it in PDF again and then upload it to Canva. Here you can just delete that and delete this image. Then you can import any image that you like. So for example, like that. You have one file where you basically combine 2 picture frames. I hope this video was helpful and you are now able to create your own custom picture frames in Canva. If you have any further questions regarding picture frames, just put them in the comments. And also if you have any other questions regarding Canva, just put them down below. Then I can make a video on that topic as well.